Hi guys, we are going to look at the question 2 of the 2018 Level 1 Science Acids and Bases paper in this particular video, so let's get into it. I kind of covered this in my one of my previous videos for the scientific concepts on acids and bases, but you know, I'll just apply that again in this particular section. So first thing first, let's look at the question. Now write the electron arrangement. Look at A, write the electron arrangement of the two atoms. You can count, I mean, just count how many electrons there are. This would be 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 electrons in the next one, 8 electrons in the next one, 2 in the next one. You can look at the diagram and count. If you don't know how to use the table, the periodic table to do these, you can add that up and then you know, just write that in. That's achieved. Okay, so write down the atoms when they form ions with the same electron arrangement. So now what does a 2 plus mean? Now you can look at this twofold. What do atoms do to become stable? They want to have a full outer shell, and these two outer shell these two atoms don't have full outer shells. So what do they need to do? Calcium is going to lose 2 electrons, that's why it has 2 plus charge. Chlorine is going to gain 1 electron, that's why it's going to have a -1 charge, because it wants to have a full outer shell. Okay, so you either lose or gain electrons to have a full outer shell, and this is why we are going to get into the excellence territory. Explain why these elements form ions. Why do they do that? They want to have a full, they gain or lose electrons to have a full outer shell, to have a full outer shell. Oops, they have a full outer shell to become stable. Okay, so this is like a magical phrase. Make sure you use it. So it will gain or lose electrons, outer shell electrons, to have a full outer shell to become stable. Now, why do the charges in terms of electron arrangement of atoms, ions, number of protons, and number of electrons, and charge? Now, this is really important because when I mark these, I feel a lot of people don't read the question. We want you to explain the charge in terms of the electron arrangement of the atoms and ions, the number of protons, the number of electrons, and the charge. And this is where I personally, if you watch my other video, this is if you haven't seen it, this is you probably find this method quite useful. If you look at calcium ion, let's look at calcium atom. Calcium atom is 2882. So actually, let's start from the beginning. Calcium has 20 protons and 20 electrons. And you may go, where do you get this from? Calcium has the atomic number of 20 on the periodic table. It has 20 protons, it has 20 electrons. The 20 electrons can be rearranged into the electron arrangement of 2882, 2,8,2, and then this doesn't have a full shell, so this is going to lose 2 electrons, and then it's going to have a 288 electron arrangement. Now it has a full shell. How many electrons does it have now? It has 18 electrons. Now I personally like to put a negative charge just to indicate the electrons are negatively charged and the protons are positively charged. P for positive, so this is 20 positive protons. So the protons number doesn't change because you only lost or gained electrons. In this case, we lost 2 electrons. Let's add it up. You got 20 positives, 18 negatives. Altogether, the charge is +2 because you have 2 more protons than electrons. Okay, now I'm not going to rewrite all of that, but this is how you will pretty much hit every single thing that I highlighted above, and you should be awarded, you know, assuming that you put in a paragraph, you should be awarded the full grade if you can do the chloride ion correctly as well. Because if you look at it, we talked about the charge on both ions, we did that. You know, well, in this case, we only did calcium. We got the electron arrangement of atoms right here, electron arrangement of the ion right here, number of protons right here, number of electrons right here, and then charge. How do we get charge of +2? Because we've got 2 more protons and electrons, and then you can see the mathematics here. 20 minus 18 is 2 electrons. We have done every single thing they asked us to do. They can't penalize you, so you know, this is a really easy question, I personally hope. All right, chlorine, same thing. Try this. Chlorine, find the periodic table. Chlorine's number 17. What does that mean? There's 17 protons, 17 electrons. So what does that mean? This has an electron arrangement of 287. This is not a full outer shell. It's not full. The outer shell is not full, so it's going to gain 1 electron. It's going to become 288. I still have 17 protons because you don't lose or gain protons, but now I got 18 electrons because 2 plus 8 plus 8 equals 18. So as you can see, I have one more negative electrons than protons, so the charge is -1 because I have one more negative electrons than protons. And that's your full answer. But make sure you talk about why the form ions, because an ion is when an atom gains or loses electrons to have a full outer shell. And here we go. Okay, so this is more in the paragraph, but this is what I meant. Like, look at all the writing. You could have done that with the set of diagrams that I've drawn, and it's really clear. I can see your logic, and then you just need to have keywords, you know, things like you know, this phrase here, you do need to write that full outer shell to become stable. As you can see, we want you to compare the charges of the subatomic particles, like 20 positive protons, 18 negative electrons, 18 that's chlorine, got 17 positives, 18 negative. It was 287, now it's 288. So you can see this is much more wordy, but if you listen back, if you rewind back to what I said, you know, we hit every single point they want us to do. Okay, so just remember this. Whenever they ask you to talk about the formation of ions, think about this method, and you will be hitting at least a merit. If you miss some details, you will definitely hit the merit, but if you do it properly, you shouldn't get anything lower than excellence. Next one, calcium react with chlorine, forming the compound of CaCl2. Explain the ratio of ions in CaCl2. Okay, so what's CaCl2? What this means is that you just write down the ions that you see. You have Ca2 plus and you have Cl minus. You see that 2 there? That means you have 1 Ca2 plus and you got 2 Cl minuses. That's this. We don't write ones in chemistry, so it's kind of like a Ca1Cl2, so it's a 1:2 ratio. Now, why is the ratio 1:2? They're asking you to do that, so you need to talk about how the ratio is related to the charge and then relate to the electrons gained. So these two bullet points or lost, these two bullet points are a merit each, and if you get both merit bullet points, then you get the excellence. So this is the first thing that people talk about. Yep, they go, all right, so they talk about calcium is 2 plus, they talk about Cl is 1 minus, this is +2, this is -1 charge. And then for when these things join together, you want to have a neutral ionic compound. That means the overall charge is 0. So that means you need 1 Ca2 plus and 2 Cl minuses. That will give you an overall charge of 0. Therefore the ratio is 1:2. This is where most, like 95% of the people that attempted this question will just do that, and then you get a merit, and then you're really sad because you felt that you knew this question. But why you miss out the merit? Because you didn't read the question properly. You didn't talk about the number of electrons gained or lost. So this is purely on charge. We want to talk about the ionic compound have a neutral charge, which is 0. But why do we we can further explain that using the number of electrons. Let's go back. Okay, so calcium has a 2 plus charge ion. So what does that mean? That means that means it has a 2 plus charge because it lost 2 electrons. Okay, so Cl minus means it will gain 1 electron to become the Cl minus. The Ca2 plus was the result of losing 2 electrons. So what that means is that 1 calcium atom needs to lose 2 electrons. 1 Cl atom, note it's not an ion because they're only an ion once, like after the gain or lost electron. 1 Cl atom needs to gain 1 electron. Therefore, you need 2 Cl atoms to gain, just continue here, they need to gain a total of 2 electrons lost by, what's that called, Ca atom. That's why the ratio is 1 to 2. If you did this, that's merit. If you did this, that's merit. If you did both of them, that's excellence. Okay, so let's have a look at the answers. Calcium loses 2 electrons to form Ca2+. So this is starting with the electrons first. Chlorine only gain 1. As a result, you lose 2 electrons in the shell. So you need 2 Cl atoms to gain the 2 electrons. Therefore, it's 2 to 1. And to have a neutral compound, you need 1 calcium to cancel out the charge of 2 chloride. So, you know, overall charge is 0. Okay, so hopefully this is straightforward enough. If you're still a little bit confused, I did spend a lot of time in one of my previous level 1 acids and bases concept videos. Find that, watch that, and then you should be in a really good place in terms of this question. Okay, so I hope you find this video. Subscribe if you haven't, smash the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.